What's up, you rejects? How you doing out there? I hope you're doing great. I had to be a little more serious that time because I'm always so smiley when I say it, but it's all in good intention because if you're getting rejected, you're doing the right things. And today I have this incredible guest who is not just extremely talented, but extremely wise and kind and all the things that you look for in a person. Danielle Vega!
Hello,
Woo!
hello.
You insert the applause, audience. Make sure you're clapping. Thank you so much. We are live. All
Hello.
right. Thank you so much for coming on this.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, we're all rejects of something. And Lord knows I have had my fair share of rejection. So here I am to tell my stories and enlighten and inspire.
That's awesome, and that's the whole point of this. And I appreciate those words because that's pinpoint accuracy. It hits the right ears. One pair, a million pair, whatever that is. That is
Yeah.
all that matters. Especially for people like us who are in the industry, so people can be like, "Oh, they're humans." Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we are. We are. We bleed red blood.
Sometimes I wish I didn't, but we do. Just just how it is. So you and I, it's really actually surprising to me because you've been in the industry since you were a little tiny tyke.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you did Barney. You were one of the little kids in Barney?
Yes, I was. I guess, technically considered the second generation of kids, second or third. I was after Min and Lord, I'm trying to remember some of the other kids' names. But anyway, they weren't part of my generation, so that's why I don't. But I started when I was 9 years old, acting professionally. I started taking acting class around 7 years old. And fun fact, the guy who played in the Barney suit was my acting coach. So
What?
yeah. So I was, essentially working on set with my acting coach, which was kind of cool. But yeah, professionally acting at 9.
That is so cool. And what I was trying to essentially get to is like, it's so crazy we haven't met because, funny enough, number for me, I started when I was 9 working professionally in this entertainment
Look at
industry, as we
that.
call it.
Look
And
at
so it's
that.
weird that we didn't cross paths
Okay, but where
until,
were you? Were you in LA?
yes,
Okay.
we're,
I didn't move to LA until a year before East Los High. So yeah.
so
Yeah.
you were where?
I was in Texas.
You were in Texas. They shot Barney in
Mhm.
Texas.
They shot Barney in Texas. It was actually a non-union series. A lot of people don't know that either. So it was advertised in the newspaper and as an open call for kids to be on, a kids television show. And yeah, non-union kids series shot in Texas at the same studio that Walker Texas Ranger was filmed at. Yeah. So that's why we
Oh,
didn't meet, but we were bound to cross paths. Clearly,
uh,
definitely.
I mean, it happened. It definitely
Yes.
happened. I had the utmost incredible pleasure of working with you on East Los High. I was only there for a couple of episodes, but you were the leading lady of the whole show. And it was such a pleasure to work with not only a really, really great artist, like actor,
Uh-huh.
but you are a real dancer too. Like I was like, you can actually dance. It's rare for, you know,
It is in this industry, I mean, a lot of times we've been told that you have to be a triple threat, right? You have to dance, you have to sing, you have to be able to perform. And a lot of times, many of us can't deliver. So, I mean, I feel like you are one of those people that can deliver as well. You got out there and left it all on the dance floor, honey. So,
I
Ceci
was a
was
little
just
old
trying
at
to
that
hold
point.
her own.
I'm just glad that my body could still move at that age. I was like, I hope I can move. I was like, shit, oh, this is horrible. But so okay, so you started studying acting when you were 7. You started working professionally when you were 9. When did you start dancing?
Dancing, I started when I was like 3. So
Yeah.
that was something that, when movement classes, I mean, I was probably the little girl that was off on the very end of the stage during the performances doing my own thing. But, we were in dance class and that's all that matters.
Yeah, and that's probably why you are who you are today. you know, because you were the one observing and you were like the different one, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Did you from a young age, were you on quote unquote like a reject?
I was. I really believe I was. I was the kid who never wanted to fall in with the crowd. I distinctly remember a situation. When was this? This was elementary school. Had to have been like fifth or sixth, fourth or fifth grade. And I there was a new girl in school, and but she wanted friends, obviously, but had one game that everybody wanted to play at the playground the first day, and then just stuck with that for like a week. And I was like, look, I'm tired of this. I don't want to play this game anymore. And everyone else was doing their own thing. And I was like, I want to go over here. And I started doing something where I was singing a song and making up the lyrics, and a group of kids had like formed around me. And I remember the little girl, the new girl, and I felt so bad afterward. I think I talked to her afterward, but I felt so bad because she was kind of standing off to herself and was like, why did everybody leave me? And I was like, we don't have a game anymore.
We got to get her on the show. She has been affected by that specific rejection that you gave her when you guys were 7 years old, and it just
You
has
gotta
not
keep
healed.
moving forward. That is the whole point of rejection. Okay, you can't sulk in the corner. You gotta keep moving forward. Don't come for me, guys.
So,
I was on the
right,
right.
right. You were doing her a favor.
Yes, yes.
That is so funny. Oh my god, that's hilarious. That'd be hilarious if she so happened to come across this. That'd be too funny.
I think we're friends on Facebook. She's doing all right.
That's good. That she's
I
doing
know.
okay.
She's doing okay.
When did you realize that you were different than the rest of the kids?
I think I mean, I've always been one of those kids that would perform in the mirror, sing anytime I got the chance, dance whenever music was on. When friends or family would come over to the house, I was the one that was just like, we're going to have a performance and we're going to put it on this time. So please sit on the couch and watch. I was always that kid. So definitely, I mean, even if I didn't recognize then that I was different, or it just maybe I didn't realize that I was a reject from the others, but definitely set apart in the sense that I was artistic and needed an audience in most cases to feel accepted. Um,
Right.
I recognized that at a young age. I loved to perform, and I loved to make people smile and happy. And yeah, I don't know that I categorized it as rejection at the time, but definitely learned that term later on as I pursued, more of those smiles and laughter and happiness from other people.
It
Oddly
made it
enough, that's weird, right? Yeah,
no, very well, maybe for some, but not to me. It's funny because we don't know each other that well out of our working environment, but like as you talk, I'm like, oh my god, we're so much alike. I'm not surprised by any means. I was
yeah,
the same way too. It was just like, you're here, I'm going to perform for you. Like
yes,
it was really simple, really,
yeah,
really like no ifs, ands, and but about it. It's just who I was. And
hmm
you're older, and then people can take it in a not so happy or healthy way and kind of be like you're obnoxious, annoying, and they just don't
yeah,
relate to it. So then you feel wrong. You're like, oh my god, I'm different. What's wrong with me? Because you don't know how to process that as a child from just being like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just different. So the initial instinct as a kid is like, oh my god, is something wrong with me because they're not nice to me right now. They don't think I'm talented. They're not enjoying the show. Like just all those little voices that we hear, right?
yes, yes. I think I got it from both sides, because when I started Barney and Friends, I did that I was 9 years old, so I started in like third grade. I was on the cusp of 9 and 10, so third, fourth grade ish. And I went through, uh, I it was 3 or 4 seasons of it. So it was quite a while. And when I was in elementary school and even into middle school, I was with the same group of kids, majority of the time. So once I got on the show, they were aware and were just like, oh yeah, she's she's on set again, she's filming. And even when I would come back, it kind of lot it started to lack a little luster because they were just like, oh yeah, she's back. And then they would just ignore me. Um, so it wasn't even like I had bragging rights anymore. So at that point, I truly had become a reject, even with my friends. I wasn't even in on, whatever had happened while I was on set, because I could be on set for 2 weeks at a time, and away from school, just getting my schoolwork and doing it there with the set teacher. But yeah, but then outside of that, when I would tell people that I was on Barney, a lot of them thought that it was cool. And even with me being, I guess, getting older, it's still something that is almost a badge, on my on my ribbon that I wear, I guess. I don't know what you put badges on. Anyways, yes,
Yeah.
but yeah, getting it from both ends where there was some rejection to it. Some kids obviously thought it was dumb, and that was rejection in itself. Other kids and people thought that it was cool. Um, but yeah, it's funny when it happens. You really have to be confident in yourself and believe in your talents and your ability and what you're doing in order to really fight through it. Um, Especially as child actors, and I mean definitely as an adult, because even then you get it from parents, you get it from just, and most of the time it's really from family members that hurts the most, because it yeah, it's not fun.
Well, it's funny enough, I wonder if this will parlay into that, but it's interesting because you faced rejection because of your success,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? It's not something we talk about a lot, but it happens frequently, like, people get rejected because they're successful, so people want to be disinterested or hateful or just, unkind because of someone's success. Did
Mhm.
you did that, like, with your family? Like, how was your family in receiving.
I mean, I think, when I booked Barney and Friends, being that I was still young, I think a lot of people were, they were of the vein that it was cool. Okay, she's working. If this doesn't, obviously, like, my mom was behind it all. She was the one that was just like, you want to perform? We're going to actually pursue this and see if, it works out. So she's always been incredibly supportive, thank God. But like my stepdad at the time, I remember, he was still somewhat skeptical. The only thing that kept him at bay was the fact that he wasn't my biological father, and my mom didn't allow him to make decisions that truly pertained to me. With my younger siblings, who he was the father of, like, my mom wanted to get them involved in, the same industry, because at this point, she had a little bit more just knowledge in how to maneuver in the industry, being that I was a working actress. And my sister, who I'm like 7 years older than, she booked it was a Pampers commercial. It was actually a pretty big deal. Like,
National.
she was legit. Yeah. And after that, her dad was just like, nope. And my mom was like, are you serious? And to this day, my sister kind of regrets, even though she was little. I think she was maybe only like 2 or 3, but she, kind of regrets her dad making that decision for her. And I think that's a lot of times what happens when we get rejected, like, by family. We allow either them to make the call for us, or, even if they don't have the power to do that, we give them the power to do that by saying, do you really think you can make a career out of this? Well, how long are you going to pursue this? What's your backup plan? And I will say that I even fell victim to that. My mom had put it in my head that I wanted to be a lawyer. And I went to college and took the LSAT, or took LSAT classes, took the LSAT, and took it twice just to see, if I could do better on getting my score, and applied to law school. Ultimately didn't get into one that I wanted to go to, and was just like, this isn't for me. You can see that I am trying to do this for you, but my heart's not in it, so I'm never going to be successful at this. I'm not the type of person that can go off and just study medicine just to give my, to give my doctorate to my mom and just say, "Here," and then go off and do my own
Fulfillment
thing.
for you. This is for you.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've never been that type of person because if my heart's not in it, my mind's not in it, it's just going to fail. So, at that point, like, when I didn't even get into law school, I was just like, "I'm not supposed to do this." And that was when I made the decision to move out to LA. And if you connect the dots, like, which I love to do in life, just connecting the dots and seeing how everything just works together, that was the best decision for me.
Yeah, rejection from law school essentially is what got you to moving to LA and, furthering
Yeah,
your career.
yeah.
Um, I love that. I love that, like what you said. You like to look back and see the pieces being put together
Mhm.
because when you can do that as opposed to feeling like you're doing something wrong or life isn't working out for you, it's so much easier to have that perspective of like this rejection is actually serving me. And it's
Yeah.
like the universe, God, whatever you believe is being like, look, I'm trying to take you where you really should be.
Mhm. Mhm. No, I love doing that, and you have to. You have to have that reflection time. You have to you have to see how far you come to see where you're going and where it's taking you. Um, I don't know, I'm a big believer in that. So anytime I feel lost, essentially, I sit down and I connect those dots, and it helps me to see the vision a little bit clearer. So,
And when you have a clear vision, it's so much easier to move accordingly.
mhm, mhm,
And that
exactly.
clarity just makes that put if that mirror has a little, like, fog on it, you just clear it up and you're like you can see yourself so much more clearly, right? And it's so much easier then to adapt, adjust, and move forward accordingly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I I I don't know. I mean, without that rejection in particular, and without the confidence that I was able to, I guess, instill in myself, as well as, with the accomplishments that I had prior to moving to LA, I guess that's just, it was the glue. It was the glue that needed to happen to get me there.
Yeah, 100%. You moved to LA because you
Yeah.
didn't get into law school.
Yes.
Then what did you do? Like, what happened from there?
So I thought that, I mean, when I first moved out there, you know, I get really scared. It may not appear to be that way, but I get really nervous over big changes in my life. And this was a big move, moving out to LA, and essentially you put that weight on your shoulders, knowing that in the back of everyone's mind, they're like, she's gonna be back home in so long
Mm.
because it's not gonna work out, type of attitude, right? So having that in the back of my mind where it's like, this has to work. It has to work. And you put that unnecessary pressure on yourself because it doesn't do anybody good to think like that. You just have to let live and let it flow. Either way, I know that now. Yeah. So I talked to a lot of friends before moving out to LA, and a lot of them, family included, said the same thing. You're stronger than you think you are. One is something that has always stuck out to me, and a quote that I often remind myself of. And then you can do anything for a year. That's something that my husband says too, and that he, you know, religiously said to me over and over again before I moved out there, and while we were driving from Texas to LA. So you can do anything for a year. You can do anything for a year. Oh my god, I'm just so scared. But so I signed my lease. Nothing happened within the first 6 months. Mind you, I was coming off of an indie film that I had just done with Vivica Fox and Eric Roberts. So I thought that I had some sort of momentum, at
Was
least a
that
little.
what was like, it's time for the move. I have this. Now there's this
Yes,
move me along accordingly. Like with this on my resume, people will take me serious. They'll hear me, they'll see me.
exactly. Exactly. And so I moved out, and I my first goal was to get an agent. I had already signed up, or locked down a number of meetings with agents that I had reached out to. Hey, I'm going to be moving at this time. A lot of them were just like, "Well, reach out once you move, once you get an address," essentially, right? Because they want to make sure that you're there in LA before they start sending you out for work. So I did, followed up, had my list, made my rounds, finally locked down an agent. And even before that, I was on Actors Access, all of the sites, LA Casting, all the sites, self submitting, doing self tapes, doing my due diligence and doing work. Um, I actually auditioned for East Los High. Um, well, backtrack. I also did background work while I was there just to get acclimated with being on the sets in LA. I find that is an important piece of information because a lot of times people get out there and they think it's beneath them to do that. But for me, it gave me a sense of what it meant to actually be on a set in California, which is something that I had not had the experience of doing at that time.
Very
Um,
smart. Very,
mhm.
very smart. A lot of huge actors have done that.
Yeah, I mean, Brad Pitt to me is the most infamous.
Yeah. Matthew
Um,
McConaughey.
yeah, yeah. So it's a good way to get your feet wet and to really see if it's something that you want to do. Obviously, I mean, you're treated a little differently, which you're not supposed to be. Hello, but um, it's a you're wearing a different hat on set and in a different capacity, I guess. So, but it's still you're getting the experience that you need to feel comfortable with being on a film set in a certain place. Um, so I did that, and I actually had I got an audition for East Los High, but I was on set doing background work, and there was no way I could pull a Brad Pitt at that point because they had us parked, way far away, and it was. I was like, "Look, is there any?" They were like, "No," and I was like, "Are you serious?" So
Yeah.
I missed that audition. But oddly enough, I signed with my agent, my first agent when I got out there, and I had a chance to audition again. And this is how you know when things are aligned. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Those
Yes.
dots. Um, so I went to the audition. Gus, I auditioned for every role except Ceci. Every
What?
role except Ceci. Yes, and it was, like, multiple auditions, and how many female roles were there in season 1? At least 6?
Yeah, I was gonna say at
Yeah.
least two. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So I auditioned for, like, 5 different characters except for the one that I actually booked. And another piece of information, so went through that whole process, like, testing with other actors, for different characters, et cetera, didn't hear anything for roughly like a week or two, I think it was. My husband and I had a trip planned to go to visit his hometown.
Always
So
working.
yeah, so we flew out of LA and we were there. I think we had just gotten there. We were there for all of a day, and then I receive a phone call from a 310 number, and I'm like, "Who is this?" So I answer the phone, and it's the casting director, and I was like, "Oh my god, hi." And she was like, "Hey, so I wanted to call you first, Blanca Valdez,
Oh,
I'll go
Sexy Blanca?
and name drop, yes."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Hey, I wanted to call you first before I called your agent, but we wanted to offer you the role of Ceci." And I was like, "Are you?" So, yeah, so then I ended up she was like, "Can you get to LA to be on set for they're filming now. Can you get to set to what?" I think she said it was like 2 days from then, for a
But
fitting. And I was like, "Yeah, yes, I can do that." As I'm looking at my husband, I'm like, and he's like, "Okay." And he gets the computer and we're like booking flights. So it was wild, but we made it happen. And so another piece of information that will just blow your mind, they had already booked the role of Ceci. They had already booked the role of Ceci. I don't know who it was to this day, but they ended up recasting after a week, and that's when they called me. So to me, it's like, I don't know, just the universe works in mysterious ways. God works in mysterious ways. recast that role for me. I was on there for what is on Hulu as 5 seasons, and nominated for the Emmy and the Daytime Emmy, and it just blows my mind how everything works out the way that it does.
I have chills, just chills everywhere. You
Yeah.
know, these are the stories that like give me chills, and chill. If you hadn't been rejected from the path of what your family wanted you to do, you
Yeah.
would have never been in this space to receive like what was right for you. And
Yes.
it's so easy for people just to stay in the lane of what somewhere some in the lane of where someone else wants them to be driving as opposed to like their lane.
Oh, yeah.
Because what it takes me to is like when I listen to you and I feel your story, it's like you are extremely strong and courageous. Like I sense that from the very first moment you start talking about who you are, what you do, and how you represent that, right? And it takes a special kind of spirit, and I get that not everybody's made of that, but if you're not made of it, you can still hear it and see it from somebody else, and you can still be that. It's in you. It's
Oh, yeah.
definitely in you. If you don't think you're made of it, you just don't see where it is inside of you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a lot of courage to get in your own car and drive down your own road and just wave at your family when they're like, turn left, hurry up, oh my God, you're gonna crash. And it's like, I'm good. But as you know, it's the I'm good usually comes way later in life. And it is like,
Yeah.
oh my God, yes, you're right. And you listen and you're so influenced by outside forces, right?
Mm-mm. Mhm, mhm. I've had a lot of those moments where I think to myself, "Oh my god, I'm so glad that worked out."
Yeah. I'm so glad I listened to my own instincts myself.
Yes,
And I
yes.
know they meant well and their intentions were good, but like,
No one knows you better than you. So
mhm.
that's another thing that I keep, especially as you get older and you've done the work to really discover and know yourself. That statement becomes even more true because a lot of times we think, oh well, they're my mom, they know me the best out of everyone. Oh,
No, it's better.
they're my partner, they know me so well. You know what I mean? Something like that. And to be honest, no, no, you have your gut instincts, and you know what you want, and you shouldn't let these outside factors affect you, especially when it goes against what you're feeling. Um, Another thing that I should mention is that the first agent that I signed with, I met with him 3 times, and the last time I did, before he took me on as a client, he said, I do believe that you're talented, but I'm going to tell you the reason why I am signing you is because of your persistence." So if I had allowed him, you know, to make me feel that I wasn't good enough to be on his roster after that first meeting or the second meeting, and being like, man, do I really want to subject myself to this type of rejection? Because essentially that's what it was. If he's like, oh, not right now, come back, like, oh shit, do you want to sign me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then I wouldn't have had that audition for East Los High, because I had missed the one from my self submission. And after self-submitting and missing it, it's not like I can resubmit and get that audition again. No, it needed to come from an agent. So had I not been persistent, like he said, and met with him that third time to, get him to the point of signing me, then I maybe not, I probably would not have had that audition for East Los High. So again, you have to listen to yourself. You know yourself the best. And if you have a dream in your heart, you have to go after it with all of your heart.
Say it for the people in the back.
You have to go after your dreams with all your heart.
Yes, and with the conviction and knowing of trusting in what you want and believe in, and
Yeah.
it's not easy, and you're going to get rejected like you did several times until you get that yes, so you get that validation, but you
Yeah.
can't rely on the validation from your team, from a casting director, from a director, from a show.
Mhm.
You have to see it and believe it within yourself. And it's a really hard thing to do when so many voices are telling you no.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
just an innate trait in you? Is that just did you learn it from somebody? Have you always been that way? I mean, your mom wanted you to be a lawyer, so I'm assuming you've always been that way, or was there someone you looked up to like, I saw my aunt do this, and I was like, I can be like that, or
I I don't know. That is it's a really good question that now I'm going to ask my mom probably tomorrow when I talk to her, but because we talk every day. But I think that I've always I mean, I must have known it. I must have seen it from my mom. My mom is a go-getter for sure. And I think that I picked it up from her. If I'm completely honest. I've always been, you know, just different, I guess. And like I said, just always wanting to make people feel good, you know? So it's just something that's all I've always liked to perform because I recognize that that was something that made people feel that way. They like to see someone, dancing and living their art or singing a song or, just performing in general. And so I would always do that. I think that yeah, I don't know. I think it was just my mom, and I can't pinpoint a specific circumstance that, made me feel that way, but I think it also helps with being in an environment that allows you to feel
inclusive and
safe.
supportive, right?
Yeah, to
Absolutely.
safe to do that. And I mean, even, I have a 5.5-year-old son, and I try to give him that space to do that as well. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job. We put on a lot of plays and we dance a lot.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah,
And
he's
he
a
does he like in he is he like into it or
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, he's just got a lot of energy in general. So I have a hard time keeping up. But yes, yes, he loves music. He definitely loves dancing. Um, yeah. I have videos of him singing Michael Jackson and what's the other song that he liked to sing? Um, What's Going On?
oh,
So it's
it's so deep.
yeah, I know. So he's a performer, but he's also my husband's an engineer, so he has an engineer's mind. He likes to draw, he likes to construct with his magnetic tiles, and he's just yeah. But I try to give him the space to do so without making him feel rejected, in any of that. Like, no, boys aren't supposed to do this, whatever mentality that a lot of the older generation had, and I'm like, no, we don't live in that space anymore, especially not in our household.
I
Do
love
what you want. How do you want to express yourself today? Do you want to wear, I don't know. I don't know. Just
what do you
feel
wanna wear? Wear it.
exactly that,
Yeah,
that. Because most of the time it's just shirts with letters. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Wear what you
did
want to wear, honey.
that's so awesome. Was your mom like that with you? Did you have that free reign, or does she still come from, like, more of a traditional background?
She she came from a traditional background, but in conversations that I've had now as an adult to get a better understanding, she recognized that one, I had a lot of energy. So similar to my son,
I was gonna
oddly
say he sounds karmic is what I was gonna say earlier, actually.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And now I question my mom. I'm like, how did you do it? But in her defense, what she did with me is I told you I started dancing at 3. So she put me in classes. She was like, "All right, you want to dance? You're going to do it at the studio. All right, you want to sing? You're going to take some lessons with this person. All right, you want to play an instrument? You're going to go over here with this person." So she didn't have to do it herself, probably.
All
But
of it, so she could take a nap.
yes, yes. So right now, yeah, so I think that was really where, my craft was conditioned, and it was in a structured environment, but it also allowed me the freedom to express myself, while still being guided in the right direction, which I think is really nice. My son now only takes a martial arts class, but he likes playing the guitar. I need to find a teacher who is physically in person. He was taking lessons from um, uh, a friend of the family in Colombia. But yeah, but I think that he just, he's 5. Come on. So
I can't do it online. I need someone to
I
move my
know.
fingers and like place them, because or else I'm like,
Yeah.
you know,
He did a good job for a while. We lasted for about a year and he made a lot of progress. He has perfect pitch. He has
uh,
perfect pitch and a memory out of this world. You give him a melody and he can mimic it back to you almost immediately as well as a month from now and it's perfect. So, he's amazing. He's
are
amazing.
you him in the biz? Are you gonna be that mom that like
I want to, but to be honest, I don't think he's ready. So, and I think it takes a lot of maturity from my point of view to even recognize that of him. I think he's different when he again, it's that safe environment, that safe space and that familiarity. He knows that he can be a certain way with mom or with dad or even with my mom. And there's a little bit of shyness that comes with being around other people regardless if they're like come on.
yeah,
He's just it takes him a while to open up. So
a little introverted
yep, yep.
around other feminine?
So yeah. So I think that maybe eventually, but right now, no. But he's cute as a button. He's cute as a button. My Sebastian.
It's so funny because you and I definitely were not that way when we were kids, huh? Like there was no shyness. There was like,
Oh,
you want me? You don't even ask me. I'm going to tell you. I'm performing for you.
yes, 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 yes.
Mm,
I have vivid memories of like full on performances I would give in the living room at our house when my mom's friends were just over and they had to watch. They had to watch. And I think, at some point it just becomes expected. Okay, what's she gonna do this time? you know? And then
yeah,
even in middle school, like I always had to be the different one. I didn't want to be, I mean, I did cheerleading, but I was also a thespian. I even and for what like the talent show, I would get together with my friends. One friend in particular I remember distinctly that we did a sketch comedy series where we dressed up as old women. And like in middle school, high school age, girls especially are growing into their femininity and trying to look pretty and do their makeup if their parents are allowing them to. But the interests start at that point and we just did not care. We were like, no, we're going to be old ladies and do our thing that way. So yeah, I think that performing aspect, that air of just not caring what other people thought, has definitely lived in me for a while, and it has helped tremendously.
it's
Tremendously. Yeah.
quintessential for somebody in this industry. You
Yeah.
That mindset is, if it's not innate, it's something that needs to be learned immediately if you want to be in this business specifically.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, because a lot of people will have opinions, and if you don't have a strong opinion of yourself, they'll just eat away at you. They'll eat away at you until you give up. And it's unfortunate. I think that happens to a lot of people between the rejection of no, in any form. It's not the right time. No, we decided to go a different direction, or no, we already have someone who looks like you on our roster, or something to that effect, or oh no, she doesn't have short hair, or oh no, we don't like her nose, or no, she doesn't look this enough or that enough, whatever, right?
Yeah.
um yeah, if you don't have that confidence instilled in you, and the ability to say, to pivot. If you don't have the ability to pivot, then yeah, it'll just continue to eat away at you, and you'll fall under the pressure.
What do you obviously it's innate with you. Did it affect you when you first moved to LA? Was it something that like was hard? I don't know. I'm wondering because you are so lucky. You came out here with your husband. Were you guys already married before you came out
We
here?
were not. So I lived by myself um the first year, and then he moved in, oh, the first year and a half. And then he moved out. In that same year we ended up getting married. Um but yeah, I was by myself. I had the opportunity to live with a friend of mine, one of my longtime friends, probably my longest friend. Um that I've known since I was 5 and she was 6. You know, she lived out in LA. She had gone to college and ended up staying out there. She wanted to be roommates, but at the time, for whatever reason, I just wanted my own space. And it was my first time living, being outside of my parents' home, and I was like, I just want to take full advantage.
Yeah.
um, so I did, and
Freedom.
yes, exactly, exactly. And I don't I it did get a little lonely, and I think that's probably something else that a lot of people don't think about, because, you live in a city like LA where there's always something going on, something to do, but unless you're plugged in, you're never going to be a part of it. Especially as it pertains to like industry stuff. I wasn't union at the time, so I wasn't going to, union events or screeners or anything like that. So I started off doing like a lot of non-union stuff to kind of build my resume and to meet people. I ended up getting a job that only worked for 3 hours, 1 day a week at a chiropractic office, just to get out of the apartment and have something specific to do. And it was while I worked there that I met a client of the agent that I ended up signing with. Another one of those dots. And
When
she
you really
was,
put yourself out there.
yeah, and she was a series regular on Glee at the time. So that was cool to be able to meet her, and you know, she put me in touch with her agent. But you know, those the first 6 months I think were the hardest because little to nothing was happening. And then finally felt like I was getting some momentum as far as getting more auditions, booking even, what was non-union stuff. I started doing the background work and, felt like I, was making just some progress with experience, doing that. But yeah, it was hard. It was hard. It's a mental game. It's truly a mental game, because
Yep.
if you allow those thoughts of like, well, nothing is happening. What am I doing? Then that too can eat away at you and really bring you down. You can be your own rejection doing, having that mentality.
You got to be careful who you surround yourself with too in this city, because perspective is key. And there are so many people who are subjective to the victim mentality or thinking negatively because things aren't working out for them. And, before you know it, you're in this whole circle of people that are just all unhappy and you're vibing in the same space. It can be dangerous waters if you aren't aware of perspective and how
Yep.
key that is and essential to success.
Yes. I remember one of the first friends that I made, um, after I had moved. We did this, what was it? It was a fitness video series together. And, one of the things that she said to me was just like, you're she meant it in a good way, but because I was new to LA, she was like, "I just love hanging out with you because of your positivity. You're not jaded by the city yet." And that was she'd been out there for years. So, just piggybacking off of what you said, I mean, it does. The city can bring you down if you're not surrounding yourself with the right people. So, thankfully she wasn't a bad person at all. She's a fantastic person. She just needed to be around someone who was reflecting the light that she was giving. So I was happy that I was able to do that for her at the time.
Even you can even be successful and still have that perspective and be around
Yeah.
people who are working all the time and who are doing things and getting in rooms or just all the things that people want to do, and they can still just be like Debbie Downers, like, but it's not enough, and that wasn't this, and that jaded LA mentality of what you're talking about, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. It blows my mind. And I think now I hope that people have a different mentality and are a little bit more humble about, I don't know. I feel like one with the pandemic happening and everyone being out of work because of that, slow things, slowly getting back to normal, and now realizing that there is a greater world outside of just Hollywood, right? And then now with the strike happening and realizing that a lot of us are actually in the same boat as far as our worth as actors, and I hope that a lot of people are, just having a lot of humbling moments right now, and realizing that yes, we deserve more, but you know maybe I wasn't so much the shit as I thought I was, or something to that effect, right? Because you cannot have that mentality when everything can just be taken away like that. um So, I don't know. It's such a fine line. That confidence and ego, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a fine dance, because without that ego, you don't have the cojones to really actually succeed in the hardest industry in the world, you
Yeah.
know? But
Yeah.
it's about where you place it, and it's about the way that you utilize it in the space of support and
Right.
energy to flourish and to move forward, to water your garden, or you can use it in the sense that it's going to deplete all your nutrients and your garden is going to be dry and just brush, and then that catches fire real quick, and then from there it can
Mhm.
turn into bad
Mhm.
news for a lot of people.
Yeah.
um, it's a tricky world. It's a tricky world. And I find the people that end up being the most successful are people like you. The ones that have determination, they have heart, they have a good spirit, and they lean into a positive perspective, and they're persistent. That word that that agent gave you is
Yeah.
so key. That is the most, probably one of the most important things in life in general to succeed. You can't take no's and let that be something that halts your progress. You just got to figure out how to get around it, or move into someone else's space that will say yes. And sometimes it's that same person that will eventually say yes, but it's because, like you just were diligent enough to just keep showing up, that they finally
Exactly.
come on.
I have to think, like, was it persistence or the fact that I'm just a little hard-headed? Like,
Which
this
both of
girl
them are
just
great.
doesn't know when to stop.
You
Yeah.
need,
You need
delusion.
to, okay?
Delusion is a necessary too, in some sense, right?
Yes, it is. Yes,
You
it is. I
know,
think most actors are a little delusional
gotta
because
be.
what is it? What is the quote? Um, Doing something over and over, expecting a different reaction is the definition of insanity. Yeah, so we're all a little insane because we are always expecting a different result. This is going to be the one. This is going to be the time. This meeting is going to be the one where he's going to sign me. So I can't be that insane because it happened after the third time.
Well, first of all, you're kind to say a little crazy or delusional. There's a lot going on here, a lot more than just a little. But it's funny you brought that up too. Just, it's something that I've been talking about a lot lately, in the sense of expecting a result from the energy you put out.
Mm,
It's so much healthier, let me tell you, when you don't expect anything from the energy that you put out, and you just put it out there because it's what you want to put out there into the universe. Just
yes.
put it out there and be okay, and be like, I put it out there. I'm done with that. Now, where else can I put the energy out there? And
I
then
love
let the universe, or whatever forces you believe, ancestors, God, whatever that may be, do the work for you then to cultivate it. And then you're not disappointed, because you haven't created all of this identity within an outcome, right?
yes,
That
yes.
leads to like lows, like really, really lows. And it's really easier said than done,
Oh,
because you get to creating these stories, and you get to this hopeful place of each thing being the one that's going to change you,
yeah.
because it is so hard.
Yeah.
But if you can, when I even say that, like I feel heavy, right? Like, and I remember those feelings. It feels heavy, and it's like, oh, but this is gonna be it. And then it's like feel light for 1 second, and then you're like, you don't get it, and then you're like, oh shit, you're like, oh shit, I'm actually carrying a lot more weight than I thought. As
Yeah.
opposed,
No, it's a huge emotional roller coaster.
yeah,
Just to
yeah,
be, yeah, every audition, you invest so much time, so much of yourself, and yep, and then you don't hear anything. So, and most of the time you don't hear anything at all because they don't
you
tell you,
never
"Oh,
know.
we didn't hear this one, but they liked this, but they decided to go." No, you don't hear any of that. You don't
And
hear any.
sometimes when you hear it, who knows if it's even real or not?
Exactly. They could, I mean, most of the time I feel like when I do hear that stuff, it's like, okay, you're just trying to lift my spirits, but it's all good.
Like,
I will say that, I mean, being a mom and having kids has allowed me the distraction that I need from not being able to let some auditions go because I literally have to put my focus somewhere else. So I think if anything, most of us, need to have something outside of that space that we can like put our energy into, and allow that to be an outlet because it is hard. It's hard to invest yourself, your time into something and not hear anything back, or to hear, I mean, to know that it was a no. Um, it's
well,
tough.
I end up feeling like that homeless guy that has like his change cup out and there's just no change in there and you just keep wanting something to come in but it's not being full so
Uh,
you have nothing then, right? But if you put matters into your own hands and you find ways to fill that cup on your own, then you have something to rely on. There it's not empty. And when
yeah.
you're in space, it's easier to actually produce
Yep.
better art
I think
because
so. Yeah.
not like you can, like they say they can tell if you're desperate for the role, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
how could they tell if I was desperate or not? It's just an energy. It's just an energy of does this person have something else filling up their cup besides just this? Are they so
Yeah.
reliant? Are they so hungry just for this? And I get that that can be a tool that propels you to having the wherewithal to become better, but it can also be the thing that also holds you back. It's as we get older, we find out that the dance and the fine line of the gray area and trying to find a balancing act between all of it is the most important thing of all.
So important. So important. Yeah. I, and it's funny that you mentioned that because when that energy is not there, especially those auditions that you get the breakdown, you're like, there's no way I'm going to book this, but I'm still going to put myself on tape for it. So you book it. Exactly. And it's because you're not putting that energy out. You're not in that desperation mode. You're not even, yeah, it's just like, okay, I'm literally going to have fun with this because I'm not going to book it. And it comes across and they love it. I always find that to be the funniest. Those are the funniest moments to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's proof to you booking Ceci, you were auditioning for every other thing. And
Everything. I was just like, all right, I didn't book it. It's fine. It is what it is. We're going to spend some time with family. Hey, you got this part.
yeah, I thought you were going to be like, and they needed me to come into the room the next day for a test, for the final test. And I was like, it's always like for some reason in our entertainment world, as soon as you book a vacation or you finally are like, I'm going to go fill up my own cup, it's
Yep.
like, you're reading for Steven Spielberg tomorrow. My flight's tomorrow. Just all those little, it's
And
funny
I
how that,
didn't get insurance.
but it is it's energy. It's
Yeah.
literally energy. If you open yourself up more regularly to just doing things you want to do and not feeling so attached to having to be so involved in
Yeah.
this, it's going to open up energy for things to come in, right? There's going to be a different flow happening.
And to be honest, I mean, you shouldn't stop life for I mean,
Anything,
for anything. Exactly.
anything.
I mean, but especially with acting because I mean, acting is your life moments. What has happened to you is what you bring to the table for that character, because you are investing some portion of yourself into that character. So,
Mhm.
and you can't invest anything if you haven't done anything. So you have the relationships, you have the experiences. You don't stop living to pursue acting. No, you live to pursue acting. So yeah, it's always blown my mind when people are, I mean, I've fallen victim to that too, I will admit, where it's like, no, I can't do this because I have to be available. I can't do that. And you start moving your timeline on certain things, you know? But I mean, I still, I'm glad that I didn't stop life. I and if I can be, a testament to anyone, it did not stall my career at all. Getting married didn't stall my career. Having kids didn't stall my career. I've still been able to do all of those things while living.
Yeah, that's those words so necessary to hear for so many people, because
Yeah.
there's definitely a different perspective that so many other people will put into your mind. And a lot of people want what you just said, and then they never go for it or get it, and then they just crash and burn. And it's
Yeah.
heartbreaking just because your agent said that wasn't important, or your manager, like it, or a casting director. Just the things that we put so much weight into, the power we give all these people. I mean, that's really it. Like, stop
Yes.
power away, people. And I don't mean an egotistical sense of being like, you don't get my, no, like literally just, if you don't have power, if you don't have vitality, if you don't have life force, you're not going to sell their product.
No, exactly. And especially not by being a puppet either. You
Yeah.
know, no
Yep.
one wants to hire someone that they can just, that's not the world that we live in
Well,
now.
there are a lot of puppets in our industry. There are a lot, and it's hard not to think, well, that could work for me, and it does work for a lot of people. There are a lot of people that there's Geppettos and pulling the strings, and people are very okay with being a puppet. That's their journey. Go live your best life.
They are. But I even think now, like, especially with the era of just the social media stars, and how there has to at least be something that gets the puppeteers attention.
Yeah.
Um
Right.
so at least in the beginning stages, you have to know who you are and what your brand is in order to get the attention of the powers that be, so that you can get to that next level. um yeah. i
You
I
can't
don't
you
know.
can't figure out yourself and your brand without facing rejection and finding your way.
Yeah.
It can't be peachy keen, or else there's going to be no depth. There's going to be no color. There's going to be no
Oh,
humanity, and that is all the most important thing in our craft is the humanity. And the
yes.
lessons that we learn, the more clear we become, we get to add to our craft. Like you said, I mean, it's easier when you're younger. I had this conversation with another one with Gio that I had on. It's like, when you're younger, it's easy to be that way because you don't have to like provide the space of depth and color. Being older, when you do younger, you get to just be a little more younger, right? But
Yeah.
eventually it catches up to you, and you got to evolve. You got to like learn more and grow more, step
Yeah.
outside, become more human, immerse yourself in culture, and like find your way so that you can
Yeah.
actually find the craft, be
Yeah.
the craft.
Yes, I like that. Be your craft. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because film is behavior based. So, and yeah, if you don't have any depth, if you don't know who you are, if you have not lived, and if yeah, you can't lean on ignorance, um, as an adult or as an older actor. So,
Yeah. It
yeah,
will work for you in your youth. If you're cute and you're talented enough in some kind of area, or you're marketable, or you're what that look is right now, it'll
yeah,
work, but it won't last forever, unfortunately. That's just, it
no.
doesn't work that way. And most of
Especially
the time,
business mentality either, because
yeah,
you'll get messed over. So,
oh, real quick.
yeah,
So to wrap up this amazing conversation that I'm so happy that I got to have with you,
me too.
if you could go back
Mm.
from all this rejection, and tell that little child version of you one thing, what would it be?
Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. I think, my childhood, being that I grew up in a safe space to fully express myself artistically, um, I was in a good headspace. The persistence was there. I think I would not change a thing. Keep doing what you're doing because I ended up getting to where I am now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I would encourage her to, I don't know how to say it in one sentence, where it's just don't second guess yourself. Maybe that's just it. Don't second guess yourself.
Yeah.
Because even with the rejection coming in and hearing it, I think that, and even allowing my mom's goal of law school, it somewhat didn't put me off track. It just made it a little bit longer. I would have been out in LA sooner. Who knows what could have happened at that point. East Los High wouldn't have been developed then, so I don't know. Um, and that's where it gets fuzzy. If things are meant to be a certain way, then I would simply tell that little girl, keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right track.
Trust in the timing.
Trust in the timing. Trust in the timing.
As you reflect on rejection right now, today, in this moment, as we speak, what is the one word you would say that defines you?
Persistent. Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Or hard-headed. So going back to that. But no, I am persistent. The agent that described me as that was spot on. Like you said, I am often, even to this day, asked, well, what is the end goal? What is the end game? What is the plan B? Um, and I often say, well, what do you mean? There is no plan B. This is a long haul career choice. um, and it is a career. It's not something that I do for fun. It's not a hobby. No, this is a career. And I am persistent.
That's what you are.
So yeah, I think yeah, that is the word. Danielle Vega, persistent.
Middle name. Danielle
Yes.
Persistent.
Yes.
Danielle, thank you so much.
No,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much. You had such insightful, impactful wisdom that I think so many ears are going to like perk up and just be like, "What'd you just say?" and really take in and receive. And I think help a lot of people. And I love that you are the example of being able to still do all the things outside the industry that you want to do, a thriving family, a thriving husband, living where you want to live, doing what you want to do, and still succeeding.
I appreciate that. Yeah. It doesn't always feel that way, so it is nice to hear it from someone else from the outside looking in. And I hope that I am able to inspire some other actors, young and old. Continue to be persistent in what you want to accomplish in your life, whether that is acting or otherwise, something else in this industry or in life in general. Um, yeah, have that goal in mind and never give up.
That part right there. That part right there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you all for listening to our conversation. And until next time. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share. But most importantly, go out there today and get rejected, you beautiful rejects. I am Gustavo Victor Carr, and this is Rejection and Reflection. Until next time.